Good evening and welcome to Local Impact, coming to you live from Stage 1 Creative Spaces in downtown San Jose. My name is Christopher Denise and I'm your host for the evening. Joining me tonight is James Harris of San Jose's very own CreaTV. The goal of Local Impact is to expose you, the audience, to local organizations and the work they do through casual conversations with the folks behind the scenes. Tonight, you'll learn about CreaTV, the resources they have for the local community, and a little bit about what they feel is on the horizon for local content in 2021 and beyond. James, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me here. Nice space I'm in here.
A little bit different from CreaTV, right?
Right.
Cool. Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about what CreaTV is? I keep saying that, CreaTV. So.
Yeah, you got it. So I'm from CreaTV San Jose. We are a public access center that serves San Jose, and we're on channels 15, 27, 28, and 30 if you've got cable at home. And we're shifting a little bit more towards being, a community media center. So we're here for the community of San Jose and making sure we are reaching the right people.
Yeah, you mentioned that a little bit when we talked last week, and I'd like to know a little bit more about what you mean by, going from a public access channel to a community media center. That's a big term change. What does that really mean for you guys?
So for us, and of course, I've only been around at CreaTV for about 2 years now, so hard to say what 10 years looked like for us, 10 years ago looked like. But since I've been here, a lot of our approach has been to look at everything with more of an equity lens and make sure that are the right voices in San Jose getting the media in their hands to be able to share their stories, yes or no?
Very cool, very cool. You mentioned what it looked like 10 years ago. Funny you mentioned that. The first time I ever had to do film for a commercial project on my own was 10 years ago. Yeah. I had been working with another gentleman who'd gone to film school, and he decided to go his own way and do something different and dumped a project on my lap, and I had to do the editing and all these other things. And the first thing I did was sign up for an editing course at CreaTV.
Oh yeah, nice.
So CreaTV is why I learned Final Cut Pro and Premiere, and then was able to turn that into a little bit more of a agency, and then of course these studios. So I actually got a little bit of my start at CreaTV. So thank you guys very much.
Oh, yeah.
That's a little history, and that means that back then you guys were still part of being very much community media center. I remember learning then that you could rent equipment. Is that something you guys can still do or still work with?
Absolutely. So I'm part of the team, the community media team, and we are the people who are making the classes. We're the educators of CreaTV. So we not only go out and try and find those voices that need to come into CreaTV, but we're also the ones teaching them, all right, where's this button on the camera? How do you do this thing and when you're editing?
So let's see. I think we were talking about engaging the local creative community. How are you pivoting during the pandemic? That's something that we've been talking to everyone about.
Fun. Yeah, everything got flipped upside down, as we know. So we are still doing a lot of what we've done before, just trying to figure out how to shift and do that through a screen, and that is definitely not easy. Trying to teach someone through a screen, all right, that button over on your camera is over here. And trying to teach people how to share their screen has been a really interesting kind of challenge, and just figuring out how we're still teaching in this new life we're living in now, basically. But we still do a lot of that, so we still do the education component, and even now starting to shift more towards being able to do equipment checkouts still. Okay. So people can still come to CreaTV and rent out equipment from us. They would still become members with CreaTV first and take a class with me, for example. And then we've shifted so that people can do what we're calling curbside checkouts. So even if we're not physically open and people aren't coming into the doors to jump on the computers and learn a class, they can still come, stop by, give us a call, try and get a camera, or we're even starting to shift towards letting people check out the edit stations at CreaTV. So we have big, massive computers you can take home now too.
That's very cool. I'm glad to hear about that. How has that been going? Are you hearing about a lot of fun short films or creative, innovative, independent film going on?
I think the biggest thing that just came to mind when you said that is Actually, a shout out to our person in marketing. Her name is Miranda. She's been putting out these really cool challenges on social media for people to get engaged. And yes, they can come get a camera from us if they need it, but a lot of people have been just like using their phones at home even to make media, which is cool. And we're still figuring out ways to keep people engaged and keep people feeling creative. So like the last thing we just did was something called the October Video Challenge, for example. And with that, we wanted people to take a shot every single day of October, cut that together into like a quick 2-minute piece, and then show it off and like announce a winner on social media kind of thing.
Very cool.
So there's little things like that.
How did that turn out?
It turned out awesome. We got a good amount of people to submit, and they're up on YouTube if you want to check them out.
Hey. Links below, I believe. Very cool. So moving forward, where does the future of content for CreaTV? I mean, we're supposedly, we're going back into lockdown, but we're also supposedly going to be heading back out. We're looking at what, March or April for vaccines. Mm-hmm. What does next year look like for content creation?
In a perfect world, wouldn't March be the time where we could all just be back in the building? That'd be great. For us, I think we're trying to still play it safe. It's funny to me where we say like, oh, we're in purple now, and red is a better thing, but the color red is still kind of scary, right? So it's like, I think even if Santa Clara County is shifting more towards red and orange again, we'll still play it the safe way and do what we've been doing for a little while. Hard to say if that'll be through next year. It's hard to say, but.
Have you been having a content, have you been struggling to get content for the show?
I would say no. One of the biggest shifts we've made since going under this COVID shelter lockdown stuff is we've actually turned our channel 30 into something called The Outlet. And The Outlet, we've actually taken off the requirement that you have to be a member to give us content kind of thing. And Channel 30, if you are just already making stuff at home and want to submit your videos to us, that's a channel that's just like literally just showing what is San Jose doing to get through these times, you know?
I believe this show might be on there at some point too. So.
Right. Yes.
Very cool. And those submissions, they're just pouring in from the community?
Right. Totally, and some staff have been participating in some of these like challenges, for example, too.
Very cool.
So it's a way for the community and us to be engaged and still staying creative.
Okay, very awesome. So I think, let's see, that'll bring us to our predictions. Prediction 1, when will we be back to normal, and what does that mean? What will that mean?
When will we be back to normal? Again, hoping that is March, but to be even more safe, if that's June, if that's summer or something like that, that's my hope. I'm not probably the one who gets to make the call though, but a lot of what we have been doing during COVID has been not too far off from what we already were doing when we were open. For example, some programs we do, like our Summer Documentary Institute with high school kids, and then we do another one called Documentor Me for the queer community, actually happening right now. And those are programs that they're in their second year now. And so even if we've had to shift them and still do them through a screen, they'd be super easy to jump right back into as soon as we open up again. But I think we've also felt more and more comfortable with being able to do things through a screen, and it hasn't been too bad.
So are you thinking that the future is going to be a little bit more of a hybrid?
I think so, and a lot of that, there's been talk of like, when CreaTV ends up moving, we're looking into a new building eventually too. When that happens, we've actually figured out some of our staff who have been working from home have found out actually we can do it just like this. And maybe there'll be times where we just go into the studio for productions like this, where we have to come in here and get it all set up. Or maybe we just end up going to the building to help with classes once a week, twice a week kind of thing. But we have figured out as staff we can do this, and we've come out kind of stronger from it.
Very cool, very good to hear. All right, final prediction, new methods of interaction. We talked a little bit about that last time. How you are clearly being able to engage with the community online as well. Do you feel that that is going to become a permanent part of communication with the community? And if so, how are you guys going to do that?
Interesting, good question. Me specifically, in my team, the community media team, being like the classes and education part of things, we are trying to figure out how can our classes be accessible to people and not always have to have them come into the building and learn hands-on physically. Rather, are there ways maybe we could record things we're doing on Zoom and put those out online as like, hey, sign up as a member and get access to this online virtual class kind of thing. So that's one shift I can see happening.
Very cool. And you guys are starting to look, I've seen a lot of people look into or start to do virtual classes, virtual workshops and things like that. So I think there's definitely going to be, we're seeing the evolution now, we're definitely seeing a lot more of that. The masterclass series I think must have exploded at the beginning of this.
Oh yeah.
I just couldn't, I constantly hear from somebody, oh yeah, I took the masterclass in directing or editing or writing or what, and I'm sure it's across industries at this point. But,
oh yeah.
Yeah. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into a few questions from the community here. Okay, so the first one we have, we have a question about what resources you offer. Can you be a little specific? And actually, I wanted to ask a little bit about that as well.
Right.
I've always known that you rent equipment, but I don't really know what that equipment is and what that entails. So can you describe the equipment a little bit more detail? What kind of cameras? What kind of, you said editing suites. Like,
Yeah.
what are we talking?
Sounds good. So the big kind of entrance into CreaTV is first just sign up and become a member. From that, you're going to be able to get access to take all the different classes we have, whether that is using cameras on the field, studio cameras when we're back to normal and we can be in a studio. We have editing classes. We've started doing like podcasting classes too, like Photoshop type activities coming up. So with all of those classes, how CreaTV works is you'd have to get into one of them first, get through the class to get a certification, and then once you've got that certification, you then have access to checking out that gear at our super low costs because we're public access.
Cool. So that means basically you sign up for the course, they teach you what an f-stop is and what these little buttons mean.
Yep.
They teach you how to do the editing or something like that, and then you can go check out the gear, check out the edit suite, and move on from there. I like the sound of that. Tell me a little bit more about that, your public access, so it's cheaper. So what does that mean? Is there any restrictions to that?
Sure. With being public access and because our gear is rentable for a lot cheaper than you'd see in like actual rental
Probably like us,
equipment places. Yeah. Yeah, because kind of those restrictions like you're talking about for public access is that it can't be stuff that is commercial product. It all has to fall in line with like being educational, inspirational. I'm trying to share my voice out there online, on cable. And it's not necessarily like, I'm going to check out a camera to shoot my friend's wedding kind of thing.
Gotcha.
Unless maybe you're trying to tell the story of the couple days leading up to that wedding, maybe.
Okay.
If that's a way to explain it.
That's pretty neat. So it sounds like what you do is you provide an exclusive voice for that demographic, as opposed to having to compete with people like us for the commercial work, where we're out there doing commercial work, and all these cameras that we're shooting on are definitely dedicated more to that. Sounds like you are specifically for folks who are doing narrative, who are doing documentary, who are doing a little bit more of a passion project, something that maybe could use a little bit of a discount on the equipment side of things. So very cool.
Exactly.
All right. Memberships. What kind of memberships are there, and what do those offer? Or do those come with?
Sounds good. So right now we've got individual memberships. So just like you yourself could come up to CreaTV, and for a yearly cost of $50, for example, you could be a member with us and get exclusive access. And with that membership, you do get discounted prices on classes. The ability to check out our cameras at all, you have to be a member for. And then aside from channel 30, which is the outlet, but getting your content onto channels 15, 27, or 28, for example, it would require being a member.
Okay.
So membership gets you a lot of things, and when we are open again, we host events in the space too. We did a series called CreaTV Presents that brought in local artists and filmmakers to engage the community in conversations. So kind of like that exclusive access. It's kind of like being in a special club, right?
Yeah, very, very cool. I remember you telling me a little bit about that. It was about an hour-long program. It was like filmmakers and creators got to come in. You really got to learn in depth about their work, and we're talking local artists here. So people you might actually be able to engage with as well.
Right.
Very cool. All right, so events, do you have any events coming up? Clearly I'm going to go with virtual events. Do you have any virtual events coming up?
Oh yeah, so right now we are in the thick of a program called Documentary Me, that one I mentioned a little bit ago. This is the one for the queer community, and there are 5 participants in that program making short 5-minute documentaries. Each of them are making their own. And so the screening for that is actually coming up next month, December 18th. Cool. 6 p.m.-ish. We'll just say night for now until final details are out there. But if people check our website, social media too, you'll be able to see all the details on that.
Cool, awesome. Well, make sure you do. We will go ahead and get a link up in the bottom here as soon as we have this loaded up and processed after the stream here. Cool, all right. So, last question I have on the board is fun things you've done during COVID to beat boredom.
Fun things I've done during COVID to beat boredom. Okay. My pug, my dog, he's a pug. He's become a little internet famous, not talking super famous or anything, but it's been fun to film him just doing his daily stuff, going on walks, for example. He's totally the pug whose little tongue sticks out all the time. So just little dumb videos like that is a good one. Another thing I've been a part of once, I'm not a main part of this, but CreaTV now has a podcast too, and it's called Two People Talking with a question mark. So that's been a fun thing that I've been able to be like a special guest on, for example. And then there's those challenges that have been put out there, like the October video challenge that we can engage in, stuff like that too.
Tell me a little bit about the one right before that, the
Two People
Talking.
Yeah.
What's that all about?
It's super goofball fun, just like we just want to show that like the people working at CreaTV, we're just human, just like you guys, you know. CreaTV's staff is made up of really awesome, talented, really cool people, and we're super quirky and fun too. So we like to show that side of us.
Awesome. Well, I think that's about all the time we have for tonight. Oh, yeah, that is about all the time we have for tonight. But before we go, do you have any final words for our audience?
Final words for the audience. And this has been resonating a lot with me lately, but like it can be hard to want to be creative during these times, and it's hard to want to just like pick up that camera and do something with it. So this is me telling everybody watching, just like be inspired by whatever it is, the littlest thing. Record 5 seconds a day of whatever it is, and from making that, I think people are going to flourish and make more and more stuff and feel like they get to be more creative. And hey, while you're at it, submit it to us.
There you go, folks. You have a voice. He said it. Submit your films. And, you know, it's kind of like working out, right? They say work out 15, 20 minutes a day. Well, work out your body, work out your mind, work out your creativity, and then send it over to CreaTV. I guess before I thank everybody tonight, we have this this colorful little display we put up tonight, and if you'll notice, there are some very brightly colored eggs on here, and you didn't ask about them, but I will explain what they are tonight. So these are just our way of having a little bit of fun and being quirky with the cast tonight. These are eggs I got around Easter last year, and they're hollowed out, brightly colored, and then filled with confetti. So why don't you grab one, and we're gonna have a little fun on camera tonight for everyone out there, just so you have something to go out with on a bang. They're real simple. You just have some fun with them.
No, I tried.
You got one more. Give it one more shot.
One
just
more?
Smack it up.
Is it gonna go up this time? Let's see.
There you go.
Awesome.
All right, so before we go, thank you, James, very much for being here.
Thanks, Chris.
Wanted to thank our audience. Thank you all for watching us. Thank you to the production crew. We've got Kevin and Mindy in the booth doing a lot of work, doing all of the work that we're not doing out here, and not having fun with any of these confetti eggs. I would like to add a reminder that the recording will be available on Stage 1 YouTube and Facebook afterwards, as well as on CreaTV Channel 30 very soon.
Yes.
We'll have that information for you as soon as we get it. Don't forget to check out CreaTV in the links below and everything that James was talking about tonight. And if you need creative space for creative productions, of course, don't forget to give us a call. Finally, have a wonderful, safe Thanksgiving. We'll be back in 2 weeks for another episode with Rhoda Shapiro of the Milpitas Beat, so don't miss it. Thanks again for joining us.